right now, it's typically not going to be a jungle pick. Dynasty, they are so afraid of Keanu's Lance, they're going to go ahead and ban it away.
I mean, he did an amazing... honestly, I feel like Keanu has rekindled my belief in Lance as a hero right now, because we've seen Lance a few times. It's been fairly lackluster this season in the Vainglory 8. Keanu last game, though, absolutely on point with his Lance, and now justifying a ban against him.
Yeah, and it just shows you how a good Lance can really hard carry, and that's what Lance is known for. And I was surprised that in EU, he wasn't picked that often until this matchup here. So now we have Baron, Grumpjaw, Lyra all open because Grace is banned. It's a good ban by G2. Now Dynasty needs to be very careful with their pick here. I feel like a good pick for them potentially could be the Grumpjaw because, again, there's so many different compositions you can play around the Grumpjaw. So first pick Grumpjaw would probably be the smartest idea, but they may just first pick Arden or Lyra here, honestly. Depending on how they've been drafting lately. There we go. Yep, they're going to go with the Lyra. Now Grumpjaw, Baron are all open for G2. So let's see what G2 is going to pick.
I really want to see G2 go for that Baron pickup, mostly just because I want to see Hundor on the Baron once again. It's so much fun to watch him get his hands on that hero. But I have a feeling that they may not go for it, just because obviously one, Grumpjaw being there, and two, just not really being willing to pick that up as with it being blind, which is weird to say because a lot of teams have been shying away from if it's available, not grabbing it right away, but it's also been banned so heavily.
Grumpjaw definitely a reasonable first pick.
Yeah, also because Lyra's good into Baron, honestly. If the carries builds Glimmering Husk and, you know, counter the burst damage from Baron, and also the portal and bulwark disables Baron's jumping, it actually counters Baron pretty hard. So that's pretty smart G2 to not pick Baron into Lyra here, but they should have banned Baron because now they're going to have to pick Baron if they don't. Giving a team Baron Lyra is very dangerous. I don't know if PT Lamb plays Baron, so maybe they know that he doesn't play Baron, so they're not worried about it. So the Arden ban is going to come out with Grumpjaw, which makes sense. On the side of Dynasty, Arden Grumpjaw is a pretty strong combination, but we do have other captains such as Finn, for example, you know, Kath, all very strong.
Even
with
Adagio.
Grumpjaw. And Adagio too, yeah.
Adagio is still wide open for G2 if that's something they want to go for. But also Hundor, a lot still on the table, and I was about to mention Baron made it through the second round of bans. I'm honestly a little bit shocked to see Baron picked up, but this late on into the draft.
Yeah,
it's definitely something that we don't expect to see him available this far in, but again, that Arden focus, this is something that Europe has. It's a heavy priority on that Arden pick, so Dynasty feel like banning away the Arden is more important than banning away the Baron. I do like that they're really heavily targeting the hero pool, though, of Keanu, saying, okay, you're not going to get your Lance. We're taking Lyra. You took away Grace. Arden is off the table. Like, they're going to have to go pretty deep down. But Catherine, I still feel, is a very, very capable captain player, or captain hero. And so I don't think it's really that big of a deal.
Yeah, and I still think that Adagio fits this composition awfully well as well. There's still options available, but you can certainly understand wanting to pinch the hero pool of Keanu after the performance he had in Game 1.
Yeah, Idris is a really good pick here with Lyra because Idris, any melee hero that can get onto Baron is very good. So I was going to predict either Glaive or Idris. So they're going to go with Idris here, which is very smart. So when Baron jumps, Idris can actually ult on top of him and stay with him during the ultimate of his Shimmer. So now I think the last pick here, they could go with an assassin like Taka and just basically blow up at this Baron here and just focus him, and then they'll win every fight. But instead, they're going to play the range game and go with CP Kestrel here against the Grumpjaw. We've seen a CP Kestrel actually win when SK played it against Grumpjaw, and I think it's a pretty smart pick because now G2 doesn't win the range game.
Yeah, I feel like CP Kestrel against Grumpjaw is definitely a matchup that can go either way, but definitely if the Kestrel can play it well, there's a lot of potential right there.
Yeah, it really is. There's always a big potential when you have a Kestrel. It's such a big playmaking hero that can take over a game, and Idris is, you know, kind of along the same lines there. So a lot of damage coming out from Dynasty, a lot of potential to just really steamroll this game if they get an early lead. there is going to be Catherine coming through. Catherine very strong against the Kestrel, because if you can just get your body in front of those Glimmer shots, it's a lot of damage getting reflected back to your opponents.
Yeah, for sure. Catherine, very strong against high burst damage compositions, but now we have our 2 comps rounded out. How are we feeling about this one? Because Catherine is something we don't see very often.
Catherine counters all 3. Counters Lyra, Idris, and Kestrel, actually. The biggest counter to Idris is actually Catherine, because she can initiate and stun him, and then once he's stun locked, he's going to take so much damage, because if he can't A and go in with his A ability, he won't get that barrier initially, and that's going to be really hurting their chances here. So honestly, G2 I think has a better draft. Grumpjaw with Catherine is going to be able to clear out the traps. The shield is going to reflect all that damage from the trap, and then they can just go on to Kestrel. Also, when Kestrel's invisible and Catherine's getting hit, her shield is going to reflect, and they're going to see where Kestrel's going when she's active cam mode.
Okay. What are your thoughts about the draft so far, Bacon? How are you feeling about this second game?
Yeah, I really think G2 has a very strong draft as well. Hundor on Baron is just always a treat to see, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do in the lane. We haven't gotten to see him on this hero yet this season, so I'm just looking forward to that, but I think G2 will be able to take this one too well.
All right, well, it's just about time to head on into the second game of this series. Hashtag Vainglory8 is how you can let us know whether you believe in the G2 rebirth or whether Dynasty are going to even out this series. Before we head into the game, though, we had a little chat with Hundor way back in London, and he talked to us a little bit about his comfort picks.
We almost always had our comfort picks, so when we went into the game we felt really good on our heroes, so we didn't try something new. We obviously changed our draft throughout the whole season, but we always stayed on picks we personally really liked.
Very much, guys, over on the desk, and comfort picks coming into this one. I mean, definitely looked very comfortable last game. I mean, Hundor on this Baron as well. First one of the day. AJ, could G2 take this to a 2-0?
Honestly, with Hundor on Baron, you got to make the case that they perhaps can. This is a pick that even before Baron was popular, like literally right after Baron came out, he was making work, and no one else was. And then he kept making it work when it became popular too, obviously, because it's really strong. So then they've also got Dark Potato on Grumpjaw. I'm really hoping he goes weapon power, and they just blow people up. I think this is a comp that can totally do that. It's pretty hard to run away from them with Merciless Pursuit, Catherine chasing you down, keeping you locked up. On top of that, there's some good disengage here as well. I think G2's composition is very well-rounded and very well-suited to the team. On the side of Dynasty, sure, they've got strength here too. I mean, I don't want to be misleading. I think they have a good composition as well. But G2 have that extra element, which is just how comfortable they are on these picks.
Is sometimes key. And there's so many squishy members of Dynasty as well. You look at Idris, you go, okay, pretty squishy, especially in the early game. Vainglory isn't going to be prioritizing massively into defense, has to go for that fountain first. And then you've got this Kestrel. If she gets jumped on by Dark Potato, could end very, very badly, like we saw in SK versus Supremacy earlier on today. There's a lot of Dark Potato, a lot of targets for Dark Potato to gobble up. We'll see who he does want to target, and then you got Baron for late. Like I said, I agree, completely all-rounded composition. Now it depends how they play the early game.
That is true, and the early game is something with Baron that you never can entirely predict sometimes. If they get off to a great start, the game ends really fast because Baron, does so much with gold. But there are plenty of games where Baron has to play really safe because there's a lot of pressure in the lane or what have you, and it means that you have to play for the later stages of the game. That's not something Grumpjaw really wants. So I feel like Grumpjaw and Catherine are going to be trying to set Hundor up for one of those early game Baron games. It really is volatile though, because if it goes wrong, they're going to have to take a step back and be like, all right, we're gonna play for the later game. We'll see what happens.
Play for late, and you'll get a very, very destructive Baron. And I guess they've kind of got Dark Potato in that regard to kind of subsidize their early stage. There's a lot of damage early, and I mean, is he going to go for this Tension Bow build? It's looking like he wants to build it now. He's got 6 sins in his inventory. That is so devastating. We saw earlier, I mean, I can't get the picture out of my head. Tyra is almost one-shotting someone with 3 weapon blades. It's too terrifying to kind of think about. And even if PT Lamb steps up to him, he's got a lot of mobility, but Dark Potato is just going to chase.
Yeah, I would like to see, honestly, both of them just get attention bow and just try and snowball the game. Double weapon power has plenty of vulnerabilities. You do have to acknowledge that fact, but at the same time, when you're taking 2 of the strongest heroes with weapon power, and you're putting attention bow on both, you can really make plays early game that you just shouldn't, you feel like you shouldn't be able to, in terms of the burst damage. They do need Keanu to set these picks up for them, and they need Dark Potato now. I would say now that he's got Tension Bow boots, he should stop priority farming the jungle. He should start trying to make plays for sure. Absolutely, because they need to utilize the power spike they're about to get. Although Hundor looks like he might actually go Starblade first, so maybe going back to his roots and picking up Starblade Breaking Point is going to be his option for build path this game.
See what he wants to prioritize, but he's going to wander up towards the lane now. Tension Bow mentioned, like you said, is going to dive straight, and that's a lot of damage. Here comes Mowgli. He's going to jump jets forwards, but G2 just taking a lot off the back of this one. Rika Meza coming back perfectly there. So those glimmer shots raining through 2 to 3 members of G2. They are going to have to be a little bit more cautious next time they want to approach a fight.
They really are. That was actually very telegraphed from G2. I think it was pretty obvious they were going for that play. And on top of that, Dark Potato committed to it a little out of sync with his teammates. Hundor really was not ready to fully go in there, and it was a bit deep for his liking anyway. Knowing that he was going for Starblade rather than Tension Bow changes the earlier point regarding when they should go for fights. I'd say it's not after Dark Potato finishes Tension Bow, it's after Hundor finishes Starblade, and they have both of those power spikes. As it stands, though, they were able to pressure a little bit, perhaps. They're starting to get some wave push coming in from Hundor, and Dark Potato looks like he's going for a proc build. Again, this changes the dynamic. I think G2 are playing for a slightly later game situation here. You can see already, though, why maybe they need to do that as Hundor gets chunked down very low by PT Lamb.
Yeah, and with the disengaged potential of Mowgli as well, he's got that Bright Bulwark. As soon as Dark Potato comes in, Bright Bulwark down, you can't do anything, you're snared up, and then they just focus all the attention onto Hundor, which is exactly what they did do. Ooh, Dynasty looking for a little something here. Set up those active camo traps, they're pretty strong, the siege is pretty strong as well. Just G2, they have to be proactive in this team composition. Both junglers now, they haven't actually gone down to their jungle in a meaningful amount of time. And Dark Potato really wants to make something happen. Keanu comes in with a stun, right bulwark. It's going to force them back once more. And look at the damage on Dark Potato. A fountain that to be popped as well from Keanu.
It becomes much more difficult to go for the play G2 went for once PT Lamb actually unlocks his weapon discipline, because he can blink, right? And that means that Dark Potato, he's like about to get an attack. He has kind of a long windup on his basics, his Grumpjaw. He's about to get an attack down. Suddenly PT Lamb blinks away and you're just sitting there doing nothing as Grumpjaw, and that's not the situation you want to be in at all. This is actually a good power spike for Dynasty, where they can really put pressure on without being too at risk of counter engage. That changes later, but for now, this is a window of opportunity for Dynasty.
Oh my goodness, Dark Potato denied again. Those glimmer shots raining through from Rico Meza as well. Really making this damage stick. Dark Potato can't find an entrance. Hundor can use those jump jets to get away, and Kinu's going to come through with the Merciless Pursuit onto Mowgli. Be about it. That turret being chunked down ever so slightly, ever so often as well by Riku Meza's glimmer shots. Dark Potato is still half HP. He's going to need to be really, really careful here. Who comes in? He gets the stun. Hang on a second here. Kinu might just go down. Oh, nice! Oh my god! The damage coming out from Hundor. Ace! Hang on a second. Blast Tremor straight into Dark Potato's hangry.
Where'd they go? Jaws, what happened?
Oh,
Blinked and I missed it.
I don't know. Hundor turned up. That's what happened.
It was, I mean, it was everything though. Like, that was perfectly like a concert of abilities from the side of G2. They played that as well as you possibly could have, syncing everything up. If any of that happened slightly delayed, there was a reaction window for Mowgli to, you know, get a heal down, get the bulwark down, something like that. Really strong stuff there from G2. That shows that this is a lineup that had that performance in spring. You know, these guys know how to play together as a unit. Now Hunter has picked up a tension bow on top of the Sorrow Blade. It's a different order than maybe you would have expected if he was going to go for that item. But that really opened up the game for G2. They are now firmly on the front foot.
Oh my god. That right there. I said earlier about Nightmare Fuel. That is Nightmare Fuel. Holy moly. Dynasty. He's been a little bit careful. Kinu combo. Kinu combo. He's got his ultimate up again. That was a combo. That's what I was trying to think of as well. Kinu has got that Blast Tremor up. Merciless Pursuit lands on Mowgli. Here's Dark Potato, Blast Tremor, Ion Cannon will be healed up though. Dark Potato in a lot of trouble in the back line. Mowgli's going to be able to kite him out. PT Lamb's going to join the fight. One shot, one kill. He's going to strike Dark Potato and take him down. Kinu comes up big with the stun on PT Lamb to stop the advance, but Hundor still going to have to play fairly back. Riku Meza still raining down those glimmer shots.
If Keanu had tanked one shot, one kill, I think maybe that fight gets turned around, but doesn't quite find it. Hundor's got a lot of damage, man. You got to be careful about going under the turret if you're not going to focus Hundor. It's a little bit risky. We got Grumpjaw on the way back here as well. Dark Potato might be able to set something up for his team just based on the amount of damage they have here. But it looks like Dynasty's going to play it smart. They're going to back up.
They're going to back up real fast. They need Dark Potato to be in that fight. He's actually got an Aftershock as well. So Aftershock Tension Bow. Pure one-shot build. Wow. I guess not fully one-shot because you haven't got double monocle, but you need that source of crystal power damage to come out for G2, and that's exactly what he's gone for. Even picked up a really early infusion. That's sitting his infantry as well, so you know they want to fight. And to be fair to them, their ultimates are on a very short cooldown. That Blast Tremor can really wreak havoc to the back line of Dynasty. Riku Meza, if he can't do much but Glimmer Shot, going this crystal power build, he ain't doing no damage to those basic attacks. So they're going to have to be very, very careful for another like-for-like engage.
I absolutely agree with that. One thing I'd like to see G2 do a little bit differently, and they did this to great effect earlier on in that one fight that they dominated in, is really sync up the engagement. So Dark Potato is hitting at the same time as Keanu. Because right now they're like waiting for Keanu to get a stun, then they're going in together. I feel like if they go in with the stun and Dark Potato so he can deal damage to the stun target during the stun, that's how they burst someone down and make it so that Hundor has space, right? Because they need to go in together. When they did that effectively earlier on, it was devastating to Dynasty. I'd like to see it a little bit more here. But this is the thing about G2's composition, right? We talk about redundancy sometimes. They can still just play for the late game if they want to.
Well, they're going to want to look for an engage here, possibly. Kinu with the Blast Tremor. It's going to get pulled over, though. That's a beautiful move from Mowgli. Riku almost goes down. Fountain's going to get pulled from Mowgli. It's going to keep him alive. Now, PT Lam in the front line is going to take out Hundor. They are on the retreat now. One shot, one kill is going to hit, but PT Lam gets chased up. Dark Potato takes the kill, and now Mowgli is on the menu for this hungry beast. Dark Potato wants to make something happen here. He does find Mowgli, doesn't have stuffed. And now Kinu cannot really find another entrance into this fight. 1-for-1 trade. G2 and Dynasty still just battling out for these single kills.
That was an interesting fight, actually, and a very smart engagement from Mowgli to just portal in. It kind of ended up with him and PT Lam going over the Blast Tremor. When that only lands onto Riku Meza, it makes Hundor's life really difficult because PT Lam burst him down extremely quickly. They do end up coming out, I would say, on top because they got a kill and the gold mine. But if the Blast Tremor had landed properly, that would not have been a close fight. So you can see how much of a difference it makes. This is something Mowgli needs to be very... have a large amount of presence of mind about. You know, he's either got to crucible that Blast Tremor, or they need to just commit to a fight and avoid it entirely.
Bit to a fight and avoid it entirely. G2 do not want to let this go at all. They've got a grudge with Dynasty, apparently. They're willing to fulfill it in this series. That one shot, one kill. It's going to go a little bit wide. Steps to the side and emotes really quickly just to make sure they know they missed it. Now, Dynasty, at least they've got that turret down, which means they can actually push it into G2's jungle. Now, what does G2 do with this information? They do actually spot them out here. Dark Potato's going to use that Hangry to get over the wall and guard the Crystal Sentry for the moment. The gold mine was taken by G2, so again, the gold lead is stretching in their favor, but only about 5 out of 2,000 right now.
G2 back in the position where we saw the fight most recently. Maybe we'll see another one here. It's going to be all about that Blast Tremor. Does it connect or not? Dynasty, they can avoid it, can definitely go for the encounter engage. Hundor is not very tanky right now, only got a light shield to his name. is not the greatest spot to be in terms of defense, especially against PT Lamb, who's dealing that weapon damage and bursting him down very quickly. But if Hunter
a
finds
nice little
attacks for
angle
free,
here. Hang on a second. Mowgli's in a little bit of trouble. So PT Lamb, he gets stunned up by the Merciless Pursuit. Hunter's raining down damage. He's going to jump Jess forward. There goes the Blast Tremor, and there goes PT Lamb's life. Mowgli is going to get chased out. Riku Meza takes a 600 damage rocket to the back. Mowgli goes down as well. Hundor, I'm afraid to say, AJ, has come online.
he has indeed, and this is what you got to worry about when you're playing against Hundor, and Baron's strong. I think, you know, teams have been not picking Baron today. We actually heard the analysts talking about this, and they were saying maybe people are out of practice because get banned so much. Well, Hundor, of course he's not out of practice. Are you kidding me? Like, you got to ban Baron against Hundor, dude.
Ban him! Ban it away! You can't let it through. I mean, being a very meta ban as well at the moment, it's quite surprising it got let through, but clearly thought others were needed. I mean, we saw the Lance ban away in this draft from G2, away from G2 even, from them. Dynasty saying, we don't want to deal with that again, but, you know, letting this one through, like you said, is a little bit of a problem, and prosing quite a bit of a situation for them. You look at his items. 4 items already. He's got Tension Bow, Sorrow Blade, Tornado Trigger, and the Monocle. He's 2-hitting people right now.
He really is, and PT Lamb, you know, he's doing what he can to mitigate this somewhat. He's picked up a Metal Jacket. I like that a lot. But Baron is one of those picks where building defense helps, but doesn't necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things, because you're still just going to get blown up. Really, you need to kill Baron before he kills you. That's the best way of dealing with a Baron. I think PT Lamb can, but he needs to get onto the back line quickly. And he needs to deal with Hundor before Hundor kills the rest of his team. A large portion of that is going to be Mowgli, getting those good arcane passages in, perhaps. They've got to do it before the Blast Tremor comes down. We've talked about that before, too. There's so many ifs, so many things that Dynasty need to do to make this work. It might be too many for everything to go right in one fight. You know, it's hard to play that perfect.
It's pretty hard to play a game perfectly, especially by your standards, AJ. Very hard
absolutely.
to play a game perfectly. Kraken on the board, 15 minutes into the game. G2 looking pretty strong. 4K in the lead for them, with a turret advantage as well. Now they are looking to open up the map even further. An infusion onto Hundor. If he wasn't looking scary, sure is right now.
If he wasn't looking scary, you're blind. Let's be
I know,
real.
right? It's actually insane. They want to go for another engagement, though. PT Lamb's going to get stunned up. Mowgli comes through with the passageway, but they're holding all their abilities. Iron Cannon is going to come down. There's the Blast Tremor they were looking for. Hundor is in the front line. PT Lamb just can't stand up with the damage. But Hundor might just go down. He does. PT Lamb finds the kill. Now Riku Meza needs to find something here on Dark Potato because he just trades 1-for-1 thus far. Mowgli in the fight with Dark Potato. Kinu in amongst 2 people. Glimmer shots can't quite finish off the kill. Now Dark Potato is just chasing Mowgli down. That mixed damage and that burst is all too much right now for Mowgli. Kinu's going to be able to get the recall off, and now Dark Potato, he's going to get chased down. Riku Meza and Mowgli, are they going to be able to find this one? He wants to carry on going here, AJ.
What is
Not
happening?
sure he's going to get away. One shot.
Just kill him.
No. They decide to let him live.
All right, let's
Happy
talk
with the
about that
one-on-one.
fight. Let's talk about that fight before it's too late, because these fights just keep on coming. I really think Hundor went a little bit too deep there, right? Like, he saw that a lot of things had been burned, and he was like, now's my time to shine. Jumps in, goes on the back line. PT Lamb is like, well, I still have ultimate. So if you commit to me, I'm just going to jump inside of you, be able to avoid a lot of your cooldowns, a lot of your damage. You won't get any attacks down to reset your jump, right? As a result, it's pretty easy to pick up the kill on Hundor after that, especially because Hundor was committed to PT Lamb on the back of the fight when Dark Potato was on Riku Meza and Mowgli on the front. Hundor, honestly, I think should have committed to the same target as his team to just get an early man advantage and then snowball through. Perhaps moving into the next fight, something for G2 to keep in mind.
Well, keeping in mind that Hundor just doesn't, if he doesn't die, they win. The biggest kind of question in their heads right now, or at least thought process. That Kraken is available. I was about to say, G2 know that actually 3 members of Dynasty have backed, and they have Hundor on this Baron to take this Kraken out. They're just going to tank this one out, no problem. It's on about half capture progress right now. He might just get taken over. Mowgli spotted it. Here comes Riku Meza as well. They're going to want to try and fight this. If this goes over to G2, it very well could be the end of the game. Mowgli takes a rocket. Now Kinu's going to come in with the stun. The Marion's going to get unleashed. And the Kraken is going to go over to G2. The Baron unleashed on Dynasty Gaming. They need to just find a way back into this game because Hundor right now, he's just unstoppable.
He's definitely looking very strong. I really like the Slumbering Husk pickup by Hundor, by the way. A lot of the damage he's taking is in very small windows in very high amounts. So this item is perfect for dealing with that. With the siege potential of a Baron, the onus is on Dynasty. They need to make a snap engagement as soon as Hundor hits the tower. That's difficult to do because Hundor, Dark Potato, they both deal a lot of damage and they got good ability to disengage and sort of kite backwards. It's all down to this. Dynasty need to defend.
Oh my god, try defending against that, AJ. The burst damage from Dark Potato and Hundor's consistent damage output with the rockets is just too much. Jump jets forward. Oh my god, what was that? See you later. Hundor picks up one. Iron Cannon's going to come down. PT Lamb in the back line. And oh dear, Mowgli's got an eaten. There comes Dark Potato. He pops out the belly. G2 find a double. They might just find the game as well. Death time is a little bit too long now. Hundor just absolutely decimates Riku Meza, and G2 are going to decimate Dynasty Gaming in this best of 3. They go 2-0 and looking much stronger than they have in previous weeks.
They do indeed. Dynasty has got to be feeling really rough after that game, though. As I said, they were on such an upward trend. Week 1 to week 2, the growth was so massive. But G2, they just bring their core lineup back, and suddenly they look unstoppable. That's a tough spot to be in. I really think Dynasty needs to be careful to maintain a strong mentality after that.